Sunday before 9/11, we actually had a drill with all the area fire departments, police departments, and the FBI on the terrorist attack. So on Sunday, we were all together going through an exercise of a terrorist attack, and then on Tuesday, we actually had a real attack. That day started, I was conducting training for all the area fire departments. So we were all together at the DC Fire Academy when events started on 9/11. I was actually in the middle of teaching the class, and one of the firefighters stopped the class and said, "Hey, I just got a page from my wife, and a plane hit the World Trade Center in New York." I stopped at my house to get all my go bags, all my deployment bags, thinking, I'm going to New York for weeks. Who knows when we're coming back? So I stopped, I grabbed my bags, and then when I got back into my FBI cruiser, we monitor the local police frequencies here. And I heard a local DC police unit come in and say they had a priority message, which means it's an urgent, which means all communication stops, usually means an officer is in distress. So I heard, and I can remember it very clearly, the dispatch came back and said, "Go ahead with your priority." And the cop said, "I don't know what just happened, but I just saw the Pentagon explode."
I walked outside. I remember the air, there was an acrid smell in the air. And I could see the smoke from where I lived uptown. I could see straight south on 3rd Avenue, and I could see the smoke billowing. And I proceeded to the FDR Drive to head south. And I'll never forget the eerie feeling of being the only car on the FDR Drive. And I came around the bend. There were thousands of people covered in ash walking north on the FDR Drive. And me driving south. And that was it. And it was the scariest feeling. And I remember pulling into 26 Federal Plaza and going up to the floor that I worked on, and agents were congregated around, and they were giving out assignments. And they decided that anyone who had been in the office already that morning was going to stay until midnight. And anyone who was just now reporting or who wasn't in yet was going to be told to go home and come back at midnight. And by that time, both towers had fallen. There was a foot of ash everywhere. There were people covered in ash, crying. It was snowing papers and ash.
These are stories from the FBI 20 years after the attack on 9/11. One last part here on the victims. Nearly 3,000 people died on 9/11 of 2001. A 2-year-old girl on Flight 175 died with her parents on their way to Disneyland. An 85-year-old man on Flight 11 died alongside his wife on their way to her son's wedding. 8 children died, including 3 11-year-olds on Flight 77 taking a school trip. 3 college students died on Flight 93. The victims lived in New York, Washington, D.C., and 27 states. One financial services firm lost 658 employees. The U.S. Army lost 75 men and women. More than 400 first responders, including 60 law enforcement officers, were killed. Nearly 3,000 children lost a parent. The FBI lost 2 members that day. Special Agent Lenny Hatton was assisting firefighters, was inside the World Trade Center when the buildings collapsed, and former Special Agent John O'Neill was also killed in the collapse. Again, stories from the FBI 20 years later. I'm Neil Carlson reporting for iNewZ.TV.